A credit card company, Escalation Supervisor, shared step-by-step advice on getting your fees waived, increasing your credit limit, and hacking customer service to get what you want. They shared the only 2 ways that give you the ability to get your annual fee waived, the absolute maximum credit limit increase they give out. There's close to 30 answers in this video, so let's get started with the credit limit increase and approval process. The first question is, how much power do you guys have when it comes to approving for a card or increasing limits? A lot of times you can do it online and it will use a system to decide if you're approved. Does calling a human actually help? Can you approve or do more than a system? And they said, truthfully, it's usually just system done and approved, at least with my company. We ask questions about income, rent, then submit that and it gets approved or denied for a random amount. There isn't much we can do. There's a referral we can submit to our credit department for a reevaluation, which in that case, they pull a hard copy and see about increasing. But that's really only for top dollar multi-relationship clients. I'm gonna say this, a credit card underwriter already stated that over 80% of decisions are made by a computer, and this is proving to be a industry-wide process. Now, he just lost me with the random amount part of that, but hopefully the algorithm is using good judgment for the amount of credit it hands out. The next question is, so how is it calculated? And they say, couldn't tell you the exact formula, but with my company, increases without a credit pool are usually only $1,000 to $5,000 increases. You know, this is similar to most data points I've seen over the years. Commercial banks just don't compare to credit unions when it comes to credit limit increases. Many people over at Navy Federal are getting their limits increased by $8,000 a clip right now. The next question is, do you actually check the income? And are you supposed to list only personal income or total household income? And they answered no, they don't actually check your income. It's household income, so you can include your partner's income as well. You know, I recently got some pushback on this idea, but this is just more evidence that you can use your household income on applications. It clearly states this underneath the income box on just about all apps, by the way. The next question is, so are all credit line increases granted based on an algorithm performed by software? In other words, there's no longer an avenue to reconsider by Escalations or an underwriter. And they say instant credit limit increases that don't require a credit pull are system generated based on account history, internal scoring, and any other relationship with the bank. But credit increases that require a hard pull are referred out to our credit department, and those are actual human increases. You know, Chase worked just like this for a long time, but finally this year, they started allowing people to request increases in the online portal with just a soft pull, and they started sending out more clear alerts when your account was eligible for an increase. Now that's a huge improvement for cards like the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, which is still the best entry-level award travel card on the market. When you sign up, you'll receive a nice bonus of 60,000 points, and for your travel bookings like hotels and car rentals made through Chase Ultimate Rewards, you earn 5 times the points. If dining out is your thing, you'll really appreciate getting 3 times the points on those purchases, and this applies to streaming services too. For any other travel-related expense, you earn 2 times the points. And one of the perks is that your points have 25% more value when you redeem them for travel through Ultimate Rewards. So your 60,000 point sign-up bonus is literally worth $750 for travel. Many cardholders find amazing value in redeeming their points through transfer partners at 2 cents per point, with Chase's airline and hotel partners like United, Southwest Airlines, and Hyatt Hotels. Plus, you have access to even more airlines like Delta, American, JetBlue, and Alaska through airline alliances. So domestic travel is easy too. There's also a $50 hotel credit when booking through Chase Ultimate Rewards, which effectively reduces your annual fee by over 50%. And if you order food delivery, the card's free Dash Pass service gives you unlimited deliveries without any delivery fees, saving you around $96 a year and essentially covering 100% of your annual fee. And the card offers a primary collision damage waiver for car rentals. This means you don't need to buy any additional car rental insurance, and it keeps any potential accidents off your personal car insurance record, which can help you avoid any increases in your insurance premiums. So you gotta hit the link below to learn how to apply for the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. Next, let's talk about getting your fees waived. How do you feel about waiving late fees? And they say if the customer is nice and you can tell it was a genuine mistake or oversight, I'll waive them. Not worth arguing over and messing up my handle time. The next question is, does the system generate a message if they can waive the late fee or not? Sometimes when I call to ask for a waiver of a late fee, the rep would say the computer cannot do it. The agent tells me they want to override it, but the computer doesn't. Is it possible sometimes if the agent is in a bad mood that they won't waive the late fee even if the computer allows it? And they say, so it depends on the system. Whenever we go to waive a late fee, it has options like address change, statement not received, bank error, family emergency, pay in full, etc. So say you called in and said you didn't receive your statement. If you've had an adjustment in the last year, the system will deny it and give you an override button, which is for certain situations, but they don't track the reasons. It's more for bookkeeping purposes internally. So back when I was a frontline rep, if I was feeling nice, I would just waive fees as bank error and the system doesn't give you any trouble. But yes, at my bank, the policy is agent discretion. So if the agent is pissed off at the world, they could deny the waiver. You catch more flies with honey. Kindness goes a long way. Next question is, how often do you waive annual fees for callers asking them to be waived for whatever reason? And they said not often, but sometimes if a customer hasn't used the card in forever and they want it waived, then cancel the card, I'll do it. But if they're actively using the card and taking advantage of the perks, the annual membership fee sort of pays for itself, which is how I explain it. I'd say that sounds like a smart move. You could tell customer service that you haven't really used the card much so far, so it feels like you're paying for something you haven't benefited from yet. Then mention that you're planning to use it more in the future. That would be what I would say in that situation. And we recently learned from a credit card underwriter that happy life events make good reasons for increasing your credit limit. I would try using that same advice here and combine the argument that you haven't used the card much and intend on using it in the near future to pay for an anniversary trip. The next question is, any specific thing you can say to get the annual fee of credit cards waived? Would you contact retention to have them waive the fee prior to it happening? And they say it really depends on the bank and their policies. Retention does have the ability to create an offer where you spend XYZ in 3 months and they'll waive the fee. But as an escalation supervisor, we cannot transfer to retention. So therefore, if you were to escalate to a supervisor regarding the fee, if you bluff and you want to close the account, we can't transfer you to retention. Only main customer service can. But I should tell you, I don't know if that's like that for all banks though. The next question is, if your bank website or mobile app was down for over a month and a customer was late on a payment during that time, could you remove the late payment from their credit history if they asked? If your customer had a perfect payment history prior to your site app outage and the primary reason for their late payment was due to lack of remote payment options, is it possible to remove on good faith, or are there laws against change in reporting? And they say, so yes, no matter how many reps tell you they can't unreport, we can. I don't know how the bank in question operates, but someone can. Whether it's a supervisor or frontline rep, you can file a dispute directly with someone at the bank if you give them enough grief. Just escalate and escalate until you're with the tier 2 or 3 supervisors. But it can be tricky because they might come back and say the dispute is invalid because no bank error was found. If they can't report or they do it and it gets denied, just ask for some sort of compensation. The next question is, what kind of compensations are given for genuine errors on the company's part? I know it's broad, but can you explain the range you've seen? And they say it really depends on the error, to be honest. My specific title is only allowed up to $100 statement credit. Anything over has to be justified by a manager, which they have to account for with their managers, so it's a chain of events thing. But I try to compensate as much as I can if it was a true bank agent error. Now, the next question is, when I was younger, I hated that management overrode the policies that they had first-line reps tell their callers. If you do that, how do you encourage your employees? And they say, truthfully, starting as a frontline rep, then being promoted, I feel that. The company I work for doesn't have too many things that frontline reps can do. And if they can't do it, there's usually a reason, compliance issues, etc. But when it comes to late fees and stuff, since the bank's rule is it's the agent's discretion, I always tell agents to just waive the late fees if the customer isn't taking advantage of the situation. Now let's talk about disputes and chargebacks. The question is, can you help customers whose chargebacks or disputes were denied because the merchant provided some bogus documentation? How do you suggest approaching this situation? And they say, God, this happens so much. Disputes are such a nightmare because we have to follow laws and regulations with Visa and MasterCard. This specific scam happens so much. People will think they're ordering something and getting a great deal, and then they'll get a tiny package from overseas with a pair of dirty socks or something, and the merchant has all the documentation that they delivered the merchandise, so it gets resolved in the merchant's favor. I truthfully just always statement credit for the dispute amount. Next question is, how do you handle chargeback disputes and how often do you get people gaming the system? They say, yep, unfortunately, I'm trained in disputes and they are a pain. Since we have to abide by Visa MasterCard regulations, it makes the dispute process very hard, and truthfully, we're just the messengers. Definitely always read terms and conditions when purchasing items or booking a trip. Now let's get into their escalation procedures. The next question is, aside from being kind and asking appropriately, are there any keywords or tips that would get someone's call escalated to a supervisor or someone else? If the feeling was that the service being provided was not adequate enough from the first rep and we're being told there's no one else to talk to or ask. They say it could be different for other banks, but within mine, if a customer asks for a supervisor and the agent doesn't transfer, it's a huge compliance risk. With larger banks and companies, you should never be told someone isn't available. There's usually 2 to 4 levels of supervisors as well. My job refers to my department, which is like a customer service on steroids. You know, I've definitely been told there are no supervisors here right now more than a few times. So now I know those reps were lying and probably didn't care much about keeping their job either. The next question is, I'd like to escalate my lack of credit limit increase with Capital One. They say escalate to their highest supervisor, ask them to reevaluate it. They should be able to with a hard credit pull. Now, I don't think Capital One even has the ability to do that. They're known for being one of the strictest computer-based credit card companies out there. Next, tell me more about handle time. How long do you have with each customer? They say handle time is calculated by total talk time, total hold time, and ACW, which is the average duration after each call an agent takes to carry out post-call processing. Then you divide by the total number of calls. I think our monthly end goal is around 500, but I truthfully don't pay attention to my AHT and pay more attention to my delight with customers and resolution rating. Next question is the hold time including before an agent answers or only when they put a customer on hold? They say only when a customer is placed on hold. We're only allowed to put you guys on hold for 2 minutes, then we have to check back in. That's why sometimes agents will do a silent hold where they just mute themselves and do their research. Next question is, do they tell you guys to lie to customers? Both Goldman and American Express customer service lied to me. Goldman Sachs ended up costing me $75. I actually called them specifically because I was good for a promotional bonus. Later on, I called and they were like, our employee did not tell you the truth. And they said, unfortunately, agents lie to get customers off the line. They know the chances they'll speak to the same customer again is very rare. It's annoying and it sucks, and whenever I get complaints of an agent lying, I send them feedback to their managers. And listen, if you want to be one of the first to see this type of insider information, you got to download one of my free credit resources like my free credit card pre-approval list or my free credit limit increase cheat sheet. I'll leave links to those below. Now let's talk about internal scoring. The question is, do banks have a secret score or credit profile for customers? For example, if a customer has been a problem in the past for various reasons, he gets a low score, or if the customer has been great when it comes to paying bills on time, using the card well. I personally feel handling credit card customers is a tough job and have made sure to have smooth conversation whenever I talk to a rep. And they said, no, basic phone reps don't have access to view that internal score. Me as a supervisor, I do have access, but in my time in this position, I've never looked at that score. If you need a fee waived and are nice, I'll just waive it. We have absolutely no say in the amount for credit limit increases. And as far as disputes go, all I can do is give you my advice. I can't just deny your right to dispute a charge. I can just help you file it according to the info you provide. Now let's talk about customer service hacks. The question is, how would you recommend getting Nordstrom to remove a 30-day missed payment from my credit report? I had an 830 score and a perfect payment record until this point and have paid it in full. I'm hoping they would make a goodwill adjustment since it's an isolated incident. Should I call, write a letter? I was in the hospital if you think that would help to disclose an extenuating circumstance. They said call and escalate to the highest supervisor you can and just have them dispute it as you were in a medical emergency. Also dispute it directly with your credit bureaus. Offer to send both parties your hospital records too. Next question is, what are things customers can do to improve their internal scores? Any behavior that causes any flags? Thinking of things like too frequent requests for credit limit increases, making multiple payments per month, paying down the balance before statement cuts, etc. And they said basically all the above will impact it. But the main thing is payment history. How many late payments? Is it paid in full? Credit utilization, things like that. Now, I gotta say this right now. Carrying a balance to improve your credit score or improve your standing with the credit card company is a huge myth. They want you to pay in full. likely because it makes you less risky of a borrower. Now, the next question is, what are popular lies you can easily see through? And they said lies like, I didn't receive my statement, I don't know how to pay, as they've been with us for 10 plus years and their due date has never changed. And using the tips that we learned earlier, being nice and escalating to a supervisor is probably your best bet in this situation. And if you enjoy learning from these credit card industry professionals as much as I do, then you got to check out the next video where a credit card company payment processor shared over 5 years worth of advice on credit card chargebacks, privacy, and fraud, including how your transaction data passes through like 4 to 5 different hands every time you make a purchase, and 4 steps you can take to improve your chances of winning disputes, especially when your case looks shaky. So check out that video next, and thank you for watching.